I'd like to give a criminal defense attorney's perspective on what will happen if the police showed up and I'm not there. That's a fairly common question I fielded over the course of my career frequently. And although the answer to it is at best an educated guess based off of handling thousands of cases and listening very carefully to the facts as my client tells them to me, there are some generalities that I think would answer that question to anybody in that set of circumstances. And that is, it depends on the seriousness of the crime, and it depends on what level of danger the police perceive you to represent to either an individual victim, to the administration of justice in general, or to society in general. And to kind of weigh that, you have to keep in mind that in general, the vast majority of crimes in the United States are lower level crimes. And very few cases are very, very serious and also represent a high threat to society, to the justice system, or to an individual. And I look at it as a pyramid. And so when people ask me what's going to happen, I wasn't there and the police show up, the first questions I generally ask focus on where they're going to be at on that pyramid. And if it's a low-level crime and there isn't any indicia of violence or an idea that they're going to go out and harm somebody or they're going to interfere with witnesses involved in the case, there aren't facts that support that, I think the chances become increasingly likely that nothing is going to happen and that the police may conclude their investigation without seeking out the person or issuing a warrant. The inverse is also true, however. The more serious it is, obviously, the more likely it is that the police are going to follow up and try to capture somebody before they conclude their investigation. I think a variation of the question of what's going to happen to me is, well, what happens if, let's say, a couple days go by and the police haven't gone out and looked for me? What's going to happen? And whether or not a warrant is issued or not, or whether or not you're going to have a summons to come into court, it really depends on the judge's decision at that point of whether or not you will appear in court if they issue a summons, whether or not the offense that was committed was violent or that they believe you're going to be violent, whether a judge believes that you are going to interfere with the administration of justice or witnesses, you're going to tamper with evidence, you're going to call witnesses and try to interfere with the case, or whether or not you're in custody. They'll often issue a warrant if you're in custody because it's the easiest way to get you into a courtroom from jail. So that's, I think, gives a vague idea of what will happen if you're not at the scene of a crime. But a more specific answer really requires you to consult with a criminal defense attorney and as to your specific facts. And somebody can give a fairly educated guess if they've had enough experience as to what may or may not happen depending on your case. I hope that helps. Thank you.